All right, so for this book review, I did the five love languages, and so it was a really good book. I enjoyed it, and some of the key things I took away from it were, first of all, like people speak different love languages, and that's like I think that's crucial to understand that your love language isn't your best friend's, isn't your mom's, it might not be your dad's, it might not be your spouse's, because if your love language is like, say, like receiving gifts, but your other like your spouse isn't, and you're giving gifts and they're like not responding to it as well as you would like, and you're like, well, why? Like, I don't understand why not. Like, that's why, maybe theirs is like just quality time with others or words of affirmation, something like that. So it's crucial to understand your others because, like Chapman was saying, understanding your spouse's love language is key because that's just like a key to a long living marriage. He said that once you understand your spouse's love language, it's a lot easier to communicate with that person, and that communication is key. That's crucial to like a long, loving, lasting marriage is communication. Which I mean makes sense, like the old phrase, happy wife, happy life. So if you're able to communicate well, that seems to be the key. Um, Another thing that I gathered from the book was, if your spouse complains like, "Oh man, like you're always on your phone," or something like that, well then that complaint, "You're always on your phone," probably means that their love language is like the opposite of that. So that would mean quality time with others. Or if they say something like, "Oh man, you never like tell me I look nice," maybe theirs is words of affirmation. And so that's crucial, being aware of their complaints, because normally like the opposite complaint is their love language. So that's something to take into consideration. um, Chapman was also saying something about like an emotional love tank. So um, that just is synonymous with like oil in a car. Like if you can communicate well and keep that emotional love tank high with your spouse, then you're able to keep that marriage like running well and running smoothly, just like your car needing oil. And I thought that was like really interesting. Um, Another thing is for like encouragement and all that kind of stuff, you need to know your spouse and know their love language well, so you can communicate with them and say the things that they are looking for in order to encourage them. Because you can be trying to say encouraging things, but if you don't know how to communicate with them, then it might not come off the way that you think it is. And another thing is that, along with just saying like, "Hey, like you look great today," like if you're like, "Hey, you look great today," that's different than if you say like, "Hey, you look great today." The tone is important too, along with that. So that's something to think about. And then for finding out your own love language, things that you hate, I was reading things that you hate are probably the opposite of your love language. So if you don't like receiving gifts, then maybe yours is like acts of service. Or, if you don't like physical touch, maybe it's words of affirmation. If you don't like, you know, maybe them being on like their phone, maybe yours is quality time. So that's something that's important to figure out your own love language, so people know how to like interact with you, as well as you figuring out theirs, so you know how to interact with them. And when I took the test, I was like a quality time guy, which I mean makes sense. Like I've never really been like big on gifts. I've always My things have always been like quality time and and acts of service, just because whenever I'm like with someone, I just want to be like with someone. Like I don't really want to be. I mean, we could be like watching a movie or something. That's okay, but I don't want to just like sit there next to on my phone. Like, what's the point of even? What's the point of even being there if you're just sitting on your phone? Like, you can do that alone. And then acts of service. I mean, I just always have been one to like help others in any way that I can. So that's something that I really like appreciate. And so overall, the book was really good. It gave me a lot of like good things to think about. And I'm not like in a relationship now, but going forward into one, like like having these things up here, keeping them like in thought going forward, I think is gonna be really good.